Welcome back to the Sports Den podcast. I'm your host, Jonathan Hooker here. And today's episode, I'll say it's a mix between my NFL season preview and my week one preview. But first, let's get into the awards. The awards. Um, my MVP will be Lamar Jackson. I think that Lamar Jackson, now that he has more weapons to throw, a brand new offensive system to where he can flourish, because we saw what the new OC for the Ravens, Todd Monken, did with the Georgia Bulldogs and how he made that offense go from average to great. So I want to see what he does with Lamar and how he will use Lamar. And I think that Lamar is going to benefit tremendously from having Odell, drafting Zay Flowers, and having Mark Andrews. Those three will put up good numbers to great numbers. And I think that the Ravens will have one of the better records in the NFL. And I think that Lamar just gets back to what he's known to do, and that's be efficient, whether that's running the ball or passing the ball, and also just staying healthy. If Lamar stays healthy, he's going to be in the MVP talks throughout the whole season. So that's my MVP. My defensive player of the year, I couldn't choose between the two. So I'll say TJ Watt or Micah Parsons. TJ Watt is self-explanatory because he had 22 and a half sacks last year. Like, what's understood doesn't need to be said. And then you have a guy like Michael Parsons, his first 2 years in the league, he's been top 3 in defensive player of the year voting. So I think that one of those two guys will get it this year. My offensive player of the year will be Christian McCaffrey. The way Kyle Shanahan schemes up to get Christian McCaffrey in space, whether that's running the ball or catching the ball, I think that Christian McCaffrey will be the focal point of the 49ers offense. And I think that his numbers will put up, the numbers that he will put up will be higher than a lot of wide receivers and running backs with total yards, because the way that he's being used, he'll be used as a receiver at times and he'll be used as a running back at times. And I think that the 49ers know that he's their best offensive weapon, and I think that he will be used as such. My comeback player of the year will be Calvin Ridley of the Jacksonville Jaguars. It's simple as this. He's going into a better system with a better quarterback and had a whole year off. If you do not believe that Calvin Ridley can get over 1,300 yards receiving, like, let's think about this. Christian Kirk got over 1,000 yards last year with Trevor Lawrence. And think about the levels between Christian Kirk and Calvin Ridley. Like, you see what I'm saying? Like, you see how Christian Kirk is this wide receiver compared to Calvin Ridley, who's this wide receiver. It's levels to it. Okay? And then for my coach of the year, it was a tough call between these coaches for this year. But I think that, I can't believe I'm going to say this, but I think that Robert Saleh will win coach of the year because they'll say the Jets improved. They got back to the playoffs with his leadership and everything that has been going on, and rightfully so. But before I even continue, I think that the Jets will be the biggest flops when it comes playoff time. I don't think they get past their first matchup at all. At all. I just know that there'll be a time and a place to where we'll look at it just like, oh, if they don't win a division, they'll get a tough draw. Because who do you trust in the playoffs more with their coaching staff? Because at the end of the day, it comes down to coaching the playoffs. Because we can run down a little list for which coaching staffs I trust more than the Jets. And it's a few, but I think that Jets will be a flop come playoff time, but in the regular season they'll be great. But come playoff time, mm-mm, I'll pass on them. But let's get into the matchups. The first matchup is today: Detroit versus Kansas City. Um, Kansas City, we don't know if they'll have Travis Kelce or not, but I'll go with Kansas City because of the fact that they're at home and Patrick Mahomes still Patrick Mahomes. I think that Kansas City will win by 4. It'll be a 31-27 game. It'll be one of those games. Yeah, 31-27. I think that Kansas City will do just enough to squeak by, but we'll see how the Lions will fare against the Super Bowl champions. Hold on. But never mind. Scratch that. I'm taking the upset. I'm taking the upset. I'm taking the Lions. And you want to know why? Because I trust in Dan Campbell to get the upset and get it done. Now I think about it. Travis Kelce is out. Yeah. Give me Jared Goff. Give me Amon-Ra. Give me Jahmyr Gibbs. Give me David Montgomery. Give me all of those things. Because I think the Detroit Lions will do just enough. And I think that C.J. Gardner-Johnson will have a big game today. So mark my words. The Lions will win. Just flip the score. The Lions will have 31. The Chiefs will have 27. Because Travis Kelce being out will have a huge impact on this game. I'm telling you this now. And I think that the Lions, they'll do great. They'll do great throughout the season. I think that they'll be a playoff team. I think Kansas City will be a contender. I think that Kansas City might make it back to the Super Bowl again this year, but only time will tell. Next is Carolina versus Atlanta. I have Atlanta winning because of the fact that it's less question marks between that team. And I think that Bijan Robinson will have a big game. I think the Falcons will make the playoffs just based off the fact that they will win their division. I think the Panthers, they'll make a lot of strides throughout the season, but they're not ready yet. And I think that the Panthers will be third or second in the division. I think the NFC South race will be close, but I don't think they'll win it. Bryce Young will have a great year, but he can only do so much. The next game will be Cincinnati versus Cleveland. Give me Cincinnati. They have too much talent. Yeah, give me Cincinnati. They have too much talent. I was thinking about how Cleveland, they're in year 2 of the Deshaun Watson era, but I think that the Bengals will just squeak it out by a little bit to go back home. I do not think Joe Burrow should play until he's fully healthy because Jamar Chase said it in a not a post-game interview, but a post-practice interview that I'd rather have Joe Burrow in week 20 than week 1. For when the playoffs is here, he'd rather have Joe Burrow than have them at the beginning. And I fully wholeheartedly agree with that because he's your franchise guy. I want my franchise guy in the big moment. I want my franchise guy to play in the big moments where I know I can bet on my team to get the win. Excuse me. The next, Jacksonville versus Indianapolis. Indianapolis will have a rebuilding year. Anthony Richardson will play above to what the standards that are held towards him. But I think Jacksonville will win just based off the talent that they have on defense. Offense is loaded. I think Trevor Lawrence has a big day against the Colts defense. So yeah. The next game will be Tampa Bay at Minnesota. Give me Minnesota winning big. I think that Jordan Addison will have his way against the Buccaneers secondary because all the focus will be on Justin Jefferson. And I know Jordan Addison can win his one-on-one matchups. And I think that Alexander Madison will show he can fill that RB1 role. I think that Minnesota will be second in their division. I think that they'll still make the playoffs as a wild card. Tampa Bay, they'll be last in the NFC South. No Tom Brady, no playoffs for them. Simple as that. The next game will be Tennessee at New Orleans. I'm not a believer in the Titans whatsoever. I don't even believe that they'll win their division. I don't even think they'll make the playoffs. I'm going out on a limb saying I don't think they'll even have a winning record. But the addition to DeAndre Hopkins helps, but it doesn't just move me enough to say, yeah, I see the Titans making a run. I just can't with Ryan Tannehill as your quarterback. No, not at all. The next game will be San Francisco versus the Pittsburgh Steelers. But let's retract. The Saints, I think that the Saints will be contending for the NFC South crown. And I think that they'll be second. But I think they'll lose a couple games that they should have won. And I think that they'll just say if we just have one more chance, and they'll have all the chances in the world with having a weak division schedule. But I don't think that the Saints gets it done this year, even though they added Derek Carr. But the next game will be San Francisco and the Pittsburgh Steelers. San Francisco will be a contender, as always. Nick Bosa just got paid. Christian McCaffrey, George Kittle, Deebo Samuel, Brandon Ayuk. All those guys shows me that they're ready for revenge. But Pittsburgh, on the other hand, they're young. I think they're ready to start winning now. I think that last year was a little growing pain year. And now this year, they'll be like, guys, like, let's make the playoffs. Let's make some noise in the AFC. I think that they have a shot. But I think they'll be third in their division. But I think they get in through the wild card. I think they make that last wild card spot. But Kenny Pickett and the George Pickens connection is for real. Deontay Johnson will do great in the slot. I think that Allen Robinson has a resurgent year. I think that Pat Freiermuth is one of the more consistent tight ends in the league. But give me the 49ers in this one. I think that the 49ers takes it. I think that they'll start the year off pretty hot. I think that Pittsburgh will take this loss and learn from it. The next game is the Arizona Cardinals versus the Commanders. I think that the Washington Commanders will win just based on the fact that Arizona doesn't even know what they want to do. I don't think Arizona should even show up. Simple as that. I think that Arizona has a lot of things going on, and I think that winning is not on their mind. I think that what's on their mind is how can they get that number 1 overall pick for next year. That's where my belief stands. I think that the Commanders can make the wild card because one, their defense is very underrated. Their defensive line is one of the best groups of that position in the whole league. I think their secondary is very underrated, especially adding Emmanuel Forbes in the first round, who I think has a chance to be one of the better cornerbacks when the year is all said and done. Next we have is Houston versus the Baltimore Ravens. Give me the Ravens. I think Lamar has a 400 total yard type of day. And 4 total touchdowns. I think that the Baltimore Ravens will win the AFC North. I think that the Houston Texans with DeMeco Ryans at the helm. I think that CJ Stroud will be the offensive rookie of the year. I think he will win rookie of the year. I think that him and Tank Dell will make a phenomenal connection when with their time in Houston throughout the season. I think that you'll see their connection grow stronger and stronger, and I think that the Texans will finish higher than the Titans. That's where my belief stands. The next game is Green Bay at Chicago. I think Chicago wins. Justin Fields, DJ Moore, that connection. We're gonna see lots of highlights. Give me Chicago. I think Green Bay will finish last in their division. I think that Chicago will finish above the Packers. Next we have is the Las Vegas Raiders at Denver. Give me the Broncos because of their defense. Give me the Broncos because they have Sean Payton. I think that Sean Payton will incorporate new things to where Russell Wilson will be back. But I think it will take some time. But I don't think if the fans will have the patience. But the Raiders, what they did to Chandler Jones, inexcusable. But I think that the Raiders, they'll finish last in their division. Sorry, Raiders fans, but this year, it's not you guys' year. Next, we have the Philadelphia Eagles at New England. Give me the Eagles. I think the Eagles will be back in the Super Bowl. I think they'll take the NFC. I don't see anybody competing against them except for the 49ers. The New England Patriots, I think this is a kind of a make it or break it year for Matt Jones, even though it shouldn't be because this is his first year with the real offensive coordinator. But, the Patriot fan base is one of those fan bases where if you're not winning consistently or if you're not putting up stats to where it's like, hey, this guy, we need him, we can keep him. But they look at Matt Jones like, hey, we can replace that. And respectfully so, but I think Matt Jones needs time. Last year, he had Matt Patricia as his offensive coordinator. Matt Patricia, when he was with the Patriots, when they were winning all the time, he was a defensive coordinator. So please, let's give him some time. The next game is Miami at the Los Angeles Chargers. I don't know if Tua is playing or not, but give me Miami. I think that Tyreek Hill put up a ridiculous day, and I think that Miami will be second in their division. I think Miami will be second in their division, and I think that Tyreek Hill will put up over 1,500 yards. I think that Jalen Waddle gets over 1,000. I think Tua throws over for 4,000. I think that this will be a shootout, and I know that Justin Herbert will be ready for it. But I think that Miami defense will get that stop before the Chargers. The Chargers, they'll finish second in their division with Justin Herbert having all those guys on offense with Mike Williams, adding Quentin Johnson. It's just a lot of things that just make me wonder. When can the Chargers get over the hump? When? If not now, when? Because if not this year, there's no telling when. And I want to know because we say Justin Herbert is this type of quarterback. Or we say the Chargers has a top 5 roster talent-wise. But why can't they win a playoff game? You guys let me know that. Just let me know that, and we'll come back to it later on in the season. Okay? The next game will be Los Angeles Rams at the Seattle Seahawks. Give me the Seahawks. The Rams will be without their main weapon, Cooper Kupp. So we're just gonna throw that in the back, and we're gonna take the Seahawks. I think the Seahawks will finish second in their division. I think they'll win over 10 games. I think the Rams they don't find something fast, I think that there'll be a lot of moving pieces this offseason for the Rams. uh, Dallas at New York. This will be a very interesting one, but give me the Cowboys. I think the Cowboys will finish second in their division. I think that the addition with Stephon Gilmore will pay dividends for everybody. Trayvon Diggs, learning from him. Michael Parsons can get to the rusher because the quarterback will have nowhere to go to. Stephon Gilmore will probably be the X factor on this defense because if he doesn't play well, there'll be a lot of things that will be schemed up to hide his weaknesses. But if Stephon Gilmore can get back to that elite level, Cowboys have a top 5 defense. A lot of people won't say that, but I will. New York will finish third. Actually, New York will finish last in the NFC East division. I think they'll finish last. I think that the Commanders will have a better record than the Giants. I think that the Giants, yes, they added Darren Waller, but they have no outside threat. In today's era of football, you need an outside threat. They have none. So we're gonna move on with that. The last game, the Monday night game, Buffalo at New York. Give me the Bills. I think that Josh Allen will do what he needs to do, which is get the ball to his receivers and Stephon Diggs and Gabe Davis. I think that Dawson Kincaid will have his first NFL touchdown. I think that the Jets will keep it close, but I think they're still not there yet as a group coming together because we just need to see them come together a little bit more because there are a lot of moving pieces this offseason, and I need to see them work well together before I say anything about them. But I think the Jets will make the playoffs without a doubt. But yeah, I forgot my rookie of the year. So my offensive rookie of the year, I said that earlier in the video. I said C.J. Stroud. My defensive rookie of the year, give me Emmanuel Forbes. I think that he will win that award.